again.
Fantastic.
Can you hear?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the City Council, City of Monona, Monday, June 2nd. Could you please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder DePula.
Here.
Alder Kubo.
Here.
Alder Bernstein.
Here.
Alder Rademacher.
Here.
Alder Holmquist.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. Could you please rise for pledge allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 19th?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any changes, corrections, additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Is there anyone here to make an appearance this evening that is not on the agenda? Okay, that being the case, and this being LGBTQ and Pride Month, I have a proclamation I'd like to read this evening. Whereas, since 1970, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, plus LGBTQ plus people have gathered and marched in the month of June to demonstrate for equal rights, to recognize the impact that LGBTQ plus individuals have had on history locally, nationally, and internationally, and to remember members of the community who have been lost to hate crimes or HIV/AIDS. And whereas the City of Monona strives to be a place that is comfortable and enjoyable for any person to live, where all people are treated and perceive they are treated fairly and respectfully, where participation in civic life is open to all and all people perceive their contributions are valued, and where the values of all groups, including those who have too often been left behind and left out, are reflected. And whereas the City of Monona appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQ plus community, which strengthen our social welfare, and finds it imperative that all people in our community, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. Whereas, while we as a community embrace new definitions of sexuality and gender, we also recognize that the need for awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas, as the rainbow flag is widely recognized as a symbol of pride, inclusion, and support for the LGBTQ community, the City of Monona will proudly display the rainbow flag throughout the month of June to encourage education and the need to engage in dialogue, build acceptance, and continue to advance equal rights. Now, therefore, I, Nancy W. Moore, Mayor of the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, do hereby declare the month of June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month, and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ plus community, and continue to celebrate and build a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance in the City of Monona. Signed in the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, the 2nd day of June, 2024. Nancy W. Moore, Mayor. That takes us to the public hearing. None. We have a large consent agenda this evening. The consent agenda this evening all relates to the annual renewals of just about every liquor license in the city, of one variety or of another. There are two that not quite final, and that would be F2, the renewal application for 25-26 for Class A liquor license for Boney's Italian Specialties, and on the next page, number 4.
My mistake. That's my mistake. It's not for Bonnie's, it's for Kelly's.
Okay. Sorry about that. Hang on,
Four,
I'm gonna find them.
4L. 4L.
4L.
Yeah, that covers both.
Okay. So, scratch that first one. Fraboni's is in. The one that is being omitted tonight, just because of some tidying up that needs to happen, is Fratelli's. That's 4L, Fratelli's Trattoria LLC, DBA Fratelli's Trattoria at 5801 Monona Drive. All the rest hold, and with that, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Yes.
Do we need to officially remove that from the consent?
I think I would recommend a motion to take that one off, just to be on the safe side.
And then
Well, unless-
table it?
well,
Yeah, that's fine. There's
Yeah,
certainly no
okay.
harm in doing that.
okay.
Okay. Would
So
you
I
like?
move that we remove item F4L from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, and I have a second. Any other questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've removed that. Now, I'd be happy to take a motion to, yes,
I need to recuse myself from the consent vote
okay. Thank you, Patrick.
for a conflict.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, I will take a motion.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor
Do
of,
we have any, I guess, any questions?
No,
Are they-
but
okay,
not under the consent agenda.
yeah. Okay, great, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. That takes us to number G. Council action items. First, unfinished business. Number 1A, consideration of resolution 25-5-08, approving an updated stormwater management plan coming from the Public Works Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
And I have a second, okay? Any additional questions for the stormwater management?
I just want to say one thing. I had a great conversation with Brad, Rachel and I did, and I learned an incredible amount, and if I didn't know that he was the resource he is, I do now. He gave us a lot of good information in a short amount of time, so it was well worth the effort. So thank Brad. Thank you very much.
Right. Thanks, Brad. So Brad, for the, just for the record again, and for the public's knowledge, could you explain again, what this management plan is, how often you put one together, and what's the purpose of it?
So we put the first and original stormwater management plan together in 2014. It's been 10 years plus now, and every 5 to 10 years is probably a good time for any municipality to touch up on these types of plans. They're very comprehensive in nature, and a lot of things change in that amount of time. And we are required by the DNR to put these together for our MS4 and WPDES stormwater permit. And so, you know, it seemed like a really good time. We're about halfway through what I would say is the city's efforts to clean up and treat stormwater as we're required to. And rules change as well with the DNR, so we also have to amend our ordinances, policies, processes, and our, all of our procedures that pertain to how we inspect, maintain, administer, and manage stormwater in the city, and how private property owners do the same, especially developments, which is stormwater is a huge part of the actual cost of developing in the city of Monona and in any cities across Wisconsin, especially in Dane County though. So, and given the fact that the city, our city, Monona, is landlocked, stormwater management becomes very difficult, and adhering and meeting standards for management on properties, including city-owned properties, is a tricky thing, and it takes a good amount of money and a lot of effort and some creativity to do. And so we've done a really good job, and I think this plan will get us another at least 10 years probably. So
Fantastic,
I hope
thank
that
you.
answered the question. Sorry.
Yeah, that's great. And could you, also, is it not the case that having such a plan and an updated plan puts us in a better position as it relates to any kind of grant funding?
That is correct, absolutely. Especially the lake management planning grants, any type of construction grants. Having something like this where you can point the DNR to it or share it with them and say, hey, look, this is all in this plan document. We're letting it lead in adjusting projects as needed, but we have a game plan moving forward, right? And so we have, in another 5 years, we're gonna have another project, and the DNR and the county, when we apply for their grants, both look at that and say, okay, this is a good plan. They're obviously adhering to it. They're on schedule. Let's keep them on schedule, right? And let's keep them moving and let their successes be our successes. And I think that we're leading by example in the county, and our, like I said, status, what we have to deal with being landlocked and not being able to expand out into green space and having a bunch of open space that's not utilized currently with our amazing parks that we have. It makes things difficult, and I think that the DNR and the county look at us as leaders when it comes to that. So I think that's a big deal.
Right. Thank you, Brad, and no small part because of you, and we appreciate it. I think I have a motion on the floor, do I not?
I just want to make note, this one
Yeah.
is starred for just one read tonight.
No, this is the old one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm on to the next one, I'm jumping ahead.
So with that, we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions for Brad or comments? That being the case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. That takes us to new business, number 2A, and this is starred for immediate approval. And I'm going to ask Dan to explain why it's starred for immediate approval, if you would, Dan, first.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is starred for approval in one reading because there's no financial obligation with it. It's simply a report card to you, City Council, on our sanitary sewer system from the year 2024, and the DNR requires a resolution for it to be submitted. So if we get approval tonight, the resolution will be sent in tomorrow, and we satisfy the requirements of the DNR.
Great. Okay, so wondering if we can have a motion to suspend the rules and take this out of order?
Motion to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Okay, any questions for Dan about this particular annual report? No? Yeah.
What was our grade?
As usual, annually, we received an A in the financial management portion, and we've received an A in the operations portion.
Great.
Do you get to assign the letter grade yourself?
I do not.
Okay.
Dan, I know this is done annually, but again, could you just, as I just asked Brad to do, could you tell us why this is important that we invest time and energy into this particular report?
So I guess I can't speak for the DNR, but I guess my hunch is that across Wisconsin, they want to ensure that the governing bodies are aware of what's happening in the sewer system. A lot of the systems are old, antiquated lift stations. Sometimes the televising of the sewer mains and cleaning doesn't get done. So this is their way to ensure that village boards and city councils are updated on the sanitary sewer system. It's a key piece of city infrastructure. If the pumps fail, then it leads to permit violations for the collection system. And, you know, we do discharge our waste to the Madison Metro Sewage District, so that we don't have treatment plant operations to worry about, but we still have a collection system operation to worry about. The report covers the financial management of the system. We do have an equipment replacement fund in our sanitary sewer operating budget, which is used to either repair or replace key pieces of equipment. In our case, it's usually VFDs or motors that pump the sewage. We did use $11,842 last year. We had a VFD that needed to be replaced because it blew. So it's quite expensive to replace that. So we do have dedicated funding every year in the operating budget to cover that cost. And every year when City Council approves the next year's operating budget, we automatically approve the $25,000 that we commit to having in that fund for equipment replacement. That's one thing the DNR wants to see. It's typically not a choice, but it's a requirement to have dedicated money to replace that equipment. There's also a part in here for future planning. They want to know what we have planned. So I listed again, we have 2 items for 2026. Now this does not hold us to it, it's just telling them what we have planned. So I'm hoping to bring back more engineering for sanitary sewer lining, and actually lining sanitary sewer main along with our hopefully our 2026 road reconstruction project. And then we also have on the capital budget the replacement of lift stations at Oneida Park. That's an old underground pumping station that we want to modernize with submersible pumps. So that we are in design phase right now, and we're hoping to do construction next year. So that's listed in here. In the maintenance portion, the main part for maintenance is we want to televise. You know, we have a goal of 33% of our system every year, so we would do 100% of the system every 3 years, or by the end of year 3, 100% done. Cleaning is based off televising. So we identify key areas that need to be cleaned, root cutted, things like that. We had a dip last year. We were only able to televise 9% of the system because we had no choice in the matter but to find a new contract operator to clean and televise our system. The previous one chose not to continue working with us because I think they lost some legal decision with the city. But the 2025 funding that we have for this work is increased to match 33%. So next year at this time for the 2025 report, the goal is to have 33% of the system televised and hopefully cleaned. That's about it in a nutshell for the CBAR. So.
Right, and just as a follow-up, as I asked Brad, I would assume that this report also, and the fact that we got an A, and on both scores would also be favorable towards any kind of grant funding that we receive?
I would like to say yes, but I don't know that.
Okay.
There's usually not a lot of grant funds available for collection system upgrades. There might be for treatment plants.
Okay.
But I think Monona might be removed from any consideration because of our per capita income.
Okay.
So I don't know that answer for sure.
Okay.
That's just my hunch.
Okay. Great.
If I can just put one comment on here, just in terms of the context of some other conversations that I think this body's been having, certainly from our last meeting. I want to emphasize how seriously our public works staff and our public works committee takes DNR processes and regulations.
Yes.
Dan and his staff do a very great job of making sure they're following those procedures and policies with all of our utilities, in fact. So just in terms of making sure that people understand that this is it feels like it's just it's a bureaucratic report, we check it out and do those things, but there's actually a considerable amount of work and regulations that need to be reviewed and updated as needed and really reviewed as part of that process. So just want to emphasize, getting an A sounds like, I think we maybe been a little bit spoiled with how good we do on these. It's a big deal to actually have that review and that performance continue to be at the level that it is. So kudos to Dan and his staff and for the Public Works Committee, I think, and this council for approving enough projects and keeping us at that level and being very, and I'd also throw Mark in there as part of even some of the things we do with our utilities with PSC rules and things, that we also go out of our way to make sure we're following those as well.
Yep.
So it is not, I think it's kudos really to staff for all the work that they do, and those A's aren't as easy as they seem to make them all the time.
That's true, but like Neil was saying, credit goes to the crew for being dedicated to maintaining the system, but also you as an elected body. We wouldn't be able to do what we can do without your support in providing the funding to maintain the system the way we can.
Right.
So it's city council and the public works crew that makes this happen. I'm just a guy putting the report together, so.
Fine. Great. And what I'm trying to remember, I think you shared at the last meeting maybe, or within the last couple of meetings, the overall dollar amount and grants that we've received, and then the of our percentage. I think it was like, what, 50% of the projects that we've done in the last, do you remember what you shared?
For projects that we have received grant funding in my time here, I think
and go ahead and age yourself. How many years is that again?
14 years. I think the price tag of the combined total is like $28 million, and we received probably just less than half of that in grant funding back.
Yeah.
But it takes, Brad is our key player when it comes to the grants. He monitors the work, he submits the reimbursement request, but leading up to getting grants, there's multiple hands in that jar that everybody has a part. But the coordination of the grant, that's Brad. And, he is, he's well aware of how much we appreciate what he does regarding the grant program.
Yeah.
So, but mainly it's the stormwater where we get the grants, some road projects.
Yeah, great. Terrific, thank you. With that, any other questions for Dan? You have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, this is a voice vote?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Dan. That takes us to number 2B, consideration of resolution 25-6-2811, amending the 2025 operating budget for library salaries from the finance director. Mark?
Yes, so I'm kind of the opposite. I have a little bit bad news. When I did the 2025 budget for salaries, we were working on 3 budgets and had 3 different spreadsheets for each different ways. And for some reason, 2 of the 3 spreadsheets were fine for the budgets, except for the one that's actually passed. And I summed the library one up. I thought that was in the total was a permanent part-time person, and I missed the formula by one cell, so it ended up being $22,250. We just recently found that this person's been there for over the years, been working, so it's not like a new person or anything like that. It was just a clerical error, so I apologize. But it would be a budget amendment to take it out of contingency, which we have over 800-some thousand for that.
Okay, great. This is not a start for immediate approval because we, of course, are taking care of that staff member in the meantime. There's not really an emergency to get that funded. Okay, yeah, Doug?
Mark, does that amount include any fringe benefits?
I wrapped it all in one. I should have
Okay.
broken it out, but yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, is this amount reflective of the entire staff was left out of the equation, or just the increase that we voted on for staffing?
It was just one person.
So
Meaning is the 22,250
It's the
the
sum.
entire, their
Yeah.
entire salary, or is it just the
Their
portion?
entire salary
Okay,
with the FICA and WRS. and that.
okay. Meaning, someone could ask, hang on, is this a $22,000 bump for somebody?
No, I
It's
just
not.
completely missed it.
Okay.
It's not a new person, or anything
Yeah.
like that, it's just for some reason.
Any
Perfect.
other questions for Mark? Seeing none. Okay, thank you, Mark. That takes us to number 2C, consideration of resolution 25-6-2810, a resolution declaring parcels 0710-292, 2952 to 0710-301-30462 and 0710-301-0335-2 blighted parcels from the Community Development Authority, and this is also starred for immediate approval. So Doug, could you just start by telling us why you're requesting that, and then I'll go to a motion to suspend the rules.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. So the reason for this is really just a timing issue as it relates to possible change to the district. So there are deadlines related to that, so it's really a sequencing item. This was unanimously recommended at the CDA meeting last week as well, so requesting one read this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules and take this out of order?
So moved.
Second.
And I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a, and I have a second. Any further discussion for Doug? Questions? Yes, Doug.
Maybe we just have Doug and Katrina explain why we need to do this.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely. So good evening, everybody. So the request here is for an update to tax increment district TID 15. This is the WPS campus, including the future Topgolf development. These changes came about due to a certified survey map that was recorded as it related to the Topgolf development, where it realigned some of the boundaries, included the vacation of Engle Street, all of which has kind of come through this body previously. It caused a couple of the parcels to change in terms of their contiguity and just boundaries to differ. And so that sort of necessitated this and the item that you see before you. So I'm joined this evening by Katrina Becker with Becker Professional Services, who advises the CDA and prepared these materials, and we'll be able to go through a little more detail as well.
Sure. Yeah,
Welcome.
so like Doug said, the parcel boundaries within TID 15 have changed. So TID 15 was created last year. The council approved so TID 15 is a blight elimination district, and so that means that at least 50% of the area within the TID must be considered to be blighted. This finding was passed last year for redevelopment area 14 and 15. TID 15 is located within redevelopment area 15. So the redevelopment area and that finding isn't changing. This is just kind of an update to specific parcels within the TID because the parcel boundaries have changed. And so we're needing to do an amendment, like Doug said. You can kind of see, I just kind of quickly highlighted some pieces on the map to clearly show a little bit better, but if you look at the current TID 15 map, you can see there are, I believe, seven parcels in total. 2 of them were found to be blighted. Those 7 parcels have now been combined into 4 parcels. You can see here. One parcel is currently outside of the TID boundary, and then there was a parcel right up between parcels 2 and 4 up there. That has been combined with the WPS parcel below it. So now the TID is no longer contiguous because those parcels aren't connected anymore. So we have to do a TID amendment to Basically, we're adding that larger WPS parcel to the south, and then this parcel up on the top left corner. So in doing that, we have to make a finding or maintain that the TID area is still at least 50% blighted for it to be a blight elimination district. So specifically, we want to, the parcels in question are these 3 parcels on the left here to the right of Gishwalt Drive. They are now part of this parcel 3. The right side of the parcel has already been found blighted. That whole stretch of parcel 2 and then the right side of 3 was already found blighted. So it's combined now. So just to kind of make things clean, we would like to make a finding of blight for those 3 parcels that are now combined, if that makes sense. So you can see those 3 parcels there are the Gishwalt office buildings. They're vacant. They're currently in the process of being demolished. If they weren't found to be blighted last year, but if we had known that the plans for the buildings were for them to be vacated and to be demolished, they could have been found blighted last year. So we're just kind of updating this blight finding for that. Any questions?
Any other questions? No?
I do have another note on the resolution specifically. There was an error with the statute number that was referenced.
Okay.
So any motion or approval of that, we would
Want to
adjust
amend
and
first.
amend to change that. So.
Okay.
Just for the council, the statute specifically, there are several references to 661105 2A1. They should all say 2AE1, just an outdated reference.
Okay. As we've already taken a motion on the resolution, should we withdraw that motion and do the amendment first, or does it matter?
Just with the consent of the movement in the second is fine.
Okay.
So that would be Doug and Patrick.
Yes.
Yeah, so you
Fine.
consent?
Yep.
You consent? Patrick,
Yep.
you're good? Okay. Great, so I have a motion on the floor. Any other yeah, Teresa?
I do have a question for Katrina. This maybe just, I may have misunderstood, but could you repeat perhaps the last sentence or 2 that you said about the Gishwalt office buildings?
Sure.
Something
Yeah, sorry, I was
about,
talking
to
this
the
long.
effect that had we known, they could have been
Yeah.
condemned or found blighted earlier. Like, what,
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, at the end of the day, they are blighted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so when we did this initial blight finding for the whole area, last year, we identified specific parcels that were found to be blighted. The parcels now, they're combined, but at the time, the 3 parcels, or 4, no, 3. The 3 parcels, those were the Gishwalt offices. They were not identified to be blighted because we didn't know at the time. They had tenants, right? And the buildings weren't in a condition that would designate them blighted. But obsolescence, so like buildings that are no longer used, vacated buildings, those are reasons for being blighted. And so at this time, because of the development project and things, they have now been vacated and are being demolished, and so they can be considered blighted for those reasons.
So now they meet the criteria. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I believe this is a voice vote, is it not?
It is voice.
Yeah. Okay, this is a voice vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to number D, or letter D, consideration of resolution 25-6-2812, approving agreement granting a privilege in the right-of-way on St. Teresa Terrace adjacent to 5103 Monona Drive. Director, again, from Director of Planning and Community Development. And Doug, if you could, this too was to be starred for immediate approval tonight. So if you could explain to us why, and then I'll ask for a suspension.
Absolutely. So the reason for the updated request for the starring is really just a timing issue. As you may have seen, work is already underway on the site there, and frankly, the developer would like this as soon as possible to really get this enclosed, enhance the safety, and just give themselves a little breathing room. So they would like this as soon as possible, and that's really the reason for that.
Great, thank you. And just so everyone's aware, this was approved at the Finance and Personnel Committee this evening. With that, take a motion to suspend these rules and take this out of order.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. Now I will take a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Any other discussion for Randy or for Doug this evening? Yep, Brian.
Hi. Can you share with us, like, the process in which we go about notifying, like, I know you can't notify every driver that uses this road, right? But what efforts do we do to provide some notice to people that are more likely to utilize this area prior to it being closed off?
I can certainly share from sort of the city perspective. So this request came in from the developer. The site is just over half an acre, so very tight in terms of ability to construct, and what we had seen, frankly, at the Bloom as well, just to the south of this. Some of the challenges with the infill sites, with construction workers, contractors, as well as deliveries, things like that. So the request had come in of, is there additional breathing room? Is there somewhere else that we can stage, or a potential agreement that could take place? So we discussed that internally as staff, department heads, in terms of, was this something that was a possibility, and sort of looked both at the location of the site, but also possible conflicts, alternative routes, and things like that. So both chiefs, both police and fire chiefs, signed off on this. I think it's fair to say this stretch of St. Teresa Terrace is pretty unique in that there are no other immediate impacts. So there's no other driveways here. Again, the Bloom is another example I would use, that there are driveways to the north there that would preclude us from closing the whole street. Those owners would still need access. This one is pretty unique in that you can close off both ends, east and west, and still have access elsewhere. So that was sort of the reasoning there, that this was something that was possible, and then subsequent negotiations with the developer took place. I would say, as far as a noticing perspective, I do not believe we're obligated to notice adjacent property owners from sort of a public notice or anything like that. We've certainly, as part of the pre-construction meeting, discussed sort of visibility and safety, both for pedestrian safety but also for drivers. So barrels, road closed signs, fencing, those kind of things that would keep that space safe, but also notify and sort of warn individuals as well. So that's sort of the process that went into this. So to the point about direct noticing, that has not been done. It's not, to my understanding, required. But there's certainly been thought and deliberation that has gone into the closure of this.
But to that point, Brian, with respect to the warning to motorists, the Section 1 of the agreement requires them to install warning signs and barricades as directed by the Public Works Director. There is it's called a Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices he will follow as far as the appropriate barricades and warnings and all of that sort of stuff that McGann will be obligated to do. There is also an indemnification provision in here. So in the event there is insufficient warning in some way and someone were harmed due to that, they would be obligated to indemnify us for that loss.
A small follow-up question that might be a question for us. There are many times when you're going down the road and you see a sign that says, aware that this off-ramp is going to be closed starting on X date. Is there some similar type of notice that could be put on St. Teresa on the start and the stop? I know it's a very short, narrow stretch, to at least give some forewarning that this is about to happen prior to it happening.
Well, we can, but my suspicion is if the council approves this tonight, the developer's probably gonna move to start fencing it tomorrow. But I can't speak for you, but.
We have them scheduled for Friday to barricade it off.
And Tuesday through Friday is more than nothing.
Right.
I can talk with McGann to see if they can somehow give some sort of a signage out there that notifies people on the drive that this will be closed on Friday, 6/6.
I think certainly checking with Director Stefani and the police chief may have
Because we have
may
that
have
one
some
message
abilities,
board.
right? There may be an
We have a
option to
digital
use that.
message board that might be able to be put on the street.
Right.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Where's,
Let's see and make sure it's available, obviously with all the
Yeah.
other things going on, but we can certainly check on that,
oh,
absolutely.
that would be good. Yeah, that would be great.
Just at least until the barricading happens.
And just as a side note, I asked Doug today if this could have one reading. And it's just we were under some time constraints with getting it started, and our precast is coming in. It's just at this time getting it out of the ground is really chaotic. So I certainly appreciate the one reading tonight. So thank you.
If you're planning on barricading it Friday, I would just point out the lease does require the monthly payment in advance,
Okay.
just so you can look that up.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Teresa?
Question, sort of to piggyback on the point that Brian's raising. The digital sign was discussed. In my mind, I'm thinking of like those little stakes that people pound in, like no parking signs. I mean, will parking be affected as well? Or will people no longer have access to something they have access to now?
I believe that stretch of St. Teresa is, it certainly isn't both side parking. I believe it's alternate or one-sided street parking. So it's pretty minimal in terms of additional street parking or something. And I would argue, I would imagine that quite a few vehicles will be using this from a contractor perspective, that it would actually should still free up enough, for the public, for those residents nearby, for example, that it would take away some of the pressure from the site, for example. So to directly answer the question, there would be some street parking that would be taken away. I believe it's 2-hour parking in that area. But again, it would be potentially heading off a different challenge coming down.
I mean, anything we can do to give residents a heads up would be just a wonderful, the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
And will there be, even if there would be like a significant amount of noise, that would be something, I don't know how you would communicate that, but those signs would help people to understand. There could be, people might change whether they work from home on that day, or they might change, if they have their kids, at a certain babysitter. It's just, all of it is very helpful.
No? Anything else? Okay. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You guys are moving in lightning speed. I don't think I've ever seen a hole go quite so fast.
Yeah. They're bringing precast in this week, I
Yeah.
think. Towards the end of the week, they're starting to bring in precast.
Yeah,
So, yeah. They got 11 months to get it done, so.
yeah.
Clock's running, exactly.
Yep, that's right. Thank you.
Actually, I think, there could have been a roll call because of the size of the lease, right?
But it's a payment to the city, not an expenditure by the city.
Okay. Thank you. With that, it takes us to H. Reports of committees, commissions, boards, mayor, city administrator, city attorney, department manager, sustainability efforts, and diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. I'm going to start down at this end. Rick?
No report.
No. Teresa?
Transit committee is meeting next Wednesday, June 11th. I don't really have any changes to report since the last city council meeting. When we meet, we'll just be working to continue analyzing ridership data. I reached out to Mick Roosh today just to ask for his, to provide some information ahead of that June 11th meeting. I know there were discussions about credit cards being able to be used on buses and things like that. Perhaps changes to our contract that we want to talk about. For community media, they'll be meeting on the following day, June 12th. We did not meet in May. We also had sort of a written update to members, and we'll just be beginning discussion on budget in our June meeting. Sustainability meeting is coming up as well the following week, where we'll be we will not be meeting this coming month, and in exchange we'll just be providing some updates from the work groups that are out there with like the tree program and Madison and Nextrex and the stormwater rebrand. And then I will defer to Brian for any updates on Public Works.
Great, thank you. Brian?
Well, let me start with Public Works then. Public Works is meeting on Wednesday, and we have one discussion item on the possibility of a no parking small section of Panther Trail, the hillside, so the side closest to Monona Drive. There was some information solicited from residents that are in the area regarding the possibility of a no parking section, so that will be discussed, as well as discussions around preliminary engineering design for the Southtown Drive improvements and the pavement replacement. That's been on our radar for a few years now. Some discussion regarding sanitary sewer rate increase possibility, so that would be coming our way. And a solid waste ordinance change amendment, which will come here after there anyways. Then we have Plan Commission next Monday. There's a few items on there, one of possible interest by a variety of individuals is a new zoning permit application for a hemp-derived retail use at 6312 Monona Drive. There is also a couple residential properties that are within the CDD, so they require zoning or Plan Commission approval. And then there's also a request for approval of a shift for a dental clinic, a dental office at 900 East Broadway. In ZBA, I don't believe we have an agenda just yet.
No agenda, but we're expecting a meeting.
Expected to meet later this month. To be determined on what that will be about.
Right, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over here, Patrick.
No reports. Public safety did not meet.
Okay, Doug?
Well, license review, and that was pretty much the consent agenda that we had tonight. There is one more license that needs to come back for a second read for Las Perez. That will be on the next agenda. And MPO meets this Wednesday. Just looking at some tip amendments, nothing too big. I don't think I mentioned last time, but I was elected chair of the MPO at the May meeting. It'll be interesting because it is a really inexperienced board. Like, I've been on there, 5 or 6 years, and I have the most seniority. So, but looking forward to that. It should be fun. That's it.
You may have not mentioned it, but I did, and said, and we all congratulated you, so congratulations.
Thank you.
As long as I'm on this side. Bill, do you have anything?
What about Rachel?
We have Alder
Sorry.
Kugel,
Yep, sorry. Rachel, do you have anything tonight?
No, same as Patrick, so public safety didn't meet, and Parks and Rec is next week.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to update the council on the home that you may recall we needed to raise at Winnequa. The contractor did start work, and at least last time I looked, they were diligently bringing that house down and working on the tunnel. My guess is they're either complete already or close to completion. It went real fast, and from the city standpoint, the important thing is the safety issue has been taken care of. The house is down. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen?
Board of Review is just over 2 weeks from now, June 18th. Notify me by 6 p.m. June 16th if you are planning to attend. Any other questions, give me a call.
Great. Neil?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick items. I did send out an email earlier today. Just want to remind alders, it is travel and vacation season. So if you know you're not going to be available for a particular time or meeting, please let staff know as early as possible. We'd rather kind of cancel a meeting in advance or reschedule it in advance than have to cancel it day of, because we don't get quorum. So please certainly let staff know, and actually if chairs ask, kind of push your committee members for the same thing, would be much appreciated. Thank you. Staff has met this week. We have our events committee that's kind of meeting in tandem with our regular staff meeting as we kind of go through the rest of the summertime. One thing that did come up, wanted to make sure council members were aware. In consultation with the police and fire chief, we are considering some sort of a temporary no parking order for some streets near Winnequa Park during the Monona Community Festival. We did have an issue last year where essentially with vehicles parked on both sides of the road, the fire chief was not certain he could get a truck or an ambulance through those certain roads. So I certainly directed them to please prepare what that might be, if it's a half mile from the area where that would be allowed. So we'll certainly be keeping folks informed of that. I believe the festival is in favor of this as well. Some residents may have some concerns. So we'll certainly get the word out. This would be something that would have to be signed in advance with the dates and so forth as we kind of do that. So wanted to make sure that you were aware that was something that was being considered. Since it is mostly a public safety issue, we do believe it is something that is needed. Excited to kind of talk about, I think if Brad is still on, we did want to make sure he's got a chance. We've been discussing the solar panels on the Public Works garage for quite some time. The staff did meet with with our partner on that, our co-op partner. Essentially, we're looking at something we're probably going to be bringing to the next council meeting, essentially, in terms of amending that contract. Actually, it was a super productive meeting. We think what we'd like to propose, and we're working on some specific language with Attorney Cole and staff, is to basically take the solar panels off of the Public Works garage and relocate them over to well 3, where they then continue to use them. They still have a good useful life on them. By doing that, that allows us certainly to obviously get more renewable energy at well 3, to not lose that generating capacity in the downtime. But in terms of facility planning, it gives us a target date of 4 to 5 years out, where all of the roofs will be fully taken care of and replaced, and we can actually update them all with new technology at that time in one shot. All the partners felt obviously had to crunch some numbers and make sure that worked. We feel that that's the best solution, so we don't lose any significant downtime of our existing panels. It puts us, we actually are able to utilize that energy better actually at well 3, simply because that's a 24/7 demand on power. So we really see the benefit of doing that, and then obviously having the ability to actually update all of our rooftop panels in kind of one coordinated effort in a few years from now. So we're excited about that. Because of the timing of the Public Works Garage project, we're going to be bringing that forward and asking for one read at the next meeting. So as soon as we kind of have that roughed out, we'll make sure and get that out as early as possible to everyone to take a look at that, so we can go. But in order to meet the timing for the contractor to remove the panels, we're probably going to need to have some action on that at the next meeting. Code enforcement is ramping up. We have our community service officer, Kim, is doing a great job. We're getting him up to speed. Doug and I will be meeting with him this week to kind of focus on, set some priorities for him to get out there. I think probably initial priorities are going to be lawns, certainly junk in the front yard, I guess, for lack of a better term. Really kind of taking a look at those items. So if you have something you would like us to be taking a look, we are kind of slowly opening up what we want him going out and taking a look at. But if you have specific areas of concern, please email Doug or myself, and we will make sure that those are on his list to take a look at here. Certainly going to be taking more of a soft launch with Kim. More likely to just simply be issuing issuing some warnings. I know in terms of the business community, I believe he's actually, Doug's has asked him to actually go up and introduce himself and talk to the business owners rather than just leaving a door hanger or sending a letter. So far it's been, I think, very effective. Seems like he's going to be a great fit for the community. We think he's really going to do a great job. It is short-term rental season again, so we are starting to field those applications and get those in. One thing we are going to be doing differently this year, everyone had a full inspection last year with not only Dane County Public Health, but also from our building inspection and our fire department. We were going to steal one out of Dane County's book, and it said if they had no issues the prior year and nothing has changed, there's an affidavit list that says that these things are still in place. We verify that, they sign it, they return that, we don't have to schedule a full formal inspection to that. So we think that's going to save a considerable amount of staff time and still covers us from a liability standpoint. So we're excited to kind of get that in motion. Want to make sure that folks are aware, we are putting up, I'll check with Brad to see if he knows for sure. We are going to be putting up some Lake Loop detour signs, simply because of the road conditions on Tony Watha, and asking folks to stay on Winnequa for the time being until that project is completed, hopefully next year. So if you see those signs, something pop up, that's why. We're moving forward. Just simply, we have had reports of some accidents on that roadway from cyclists going down that roadway maybe related to the road conditions, maybe not, but in any case, feel that it's advisable to kind of ship them down Winnequa. Alder Rademacher and I will be attending the Dane County Sustainability Leaders Collaborative meeting on Friday. So it's going to be touring the Oregon Public Library. That's got some really great, I believe it's solar project that they use to do the library there. So we'll be meeting with leaders all across Dane County. We'll be getting together to talk about sustainability. So hopefully we can steal some great ideas as we go down there. And then just a last note, I want to thank certainly the alders and everybody who participated in the Memorial Day Parade, but also our public works staff, our police department, and our fire department for all the work that they put in to really help make that. It was a great day. Whoever was in charge of weather, I mean, feel free to claim that one if you want. It was a great day. All in all, I think it was a really successful event, and I think people really enjoyed it. It seems like traffic dispersed pretty well. I mean, it was a little busier, I think, on the northern end than the southern end, but it seemed to disperse really well and didn't have any real negative complaints that I'm aware of.
What was the estimated attendance?
Just to know that this number was not just pulled out of the air.
It was 350,000.
Yeah. The police department actually uses either the aerial cameras or a drone to actually sample size, and it's 6 people deep for approximately this long. Okay. So they actually do the math. They were estimating 35,000 people. So that for that, and it was a good enough day. I'm sure there was a lot of folks who
that was almost everyone from Monona
decided to come down and check it out. So it was a great day, and kudos to Kelly Slack for all her efforts in organizing the event and putting it on every year. So
we gave out a collective what was it, about 90 pounds of candy?
90 pounds.
Yeah. It was. I saw you guys had a truckload. Essentially, yes.
We literally did.
Yeah.
Very small truck, but we actually had a tiny handful left at the end of the route, which was unthinkable that we would have even lasted that long.
Brian ate that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. I would just have a couple of things. First, going back to the community festival and the no parking for a minute. I think when you and I talked about it, as you said, the community festival's in favor of that, obviously for safety reasons. And I was recommending that the festival organizers reach out to the schools, because of course the schools will be shut down. And to maybe run their own shuttle buses, because we know how crowded it gets around Winnequa Park.
Thanksgiving night.
Even when the parking is available, never mind when it's not. And I think Brian was going to look into that. Brian Henry was going to look into that. And I'm sure, assuming that the schools don't have anything on the 3rd and the 4th, that they would be. They've always been great about that. Second, as you may know, especially Doug, who lives close by, you could probably hear it. The pool opened this weekend. Perfect weekend for opening. I'm sure it was probably quite crowded, and then I want to thank Parks and Rec for that. I know it takes a lot to get that pool open and everything rolling, and especially Missy, who coordinates all of that. I want to say congratulations to all the MG grads, high school grads. Graduation was yesterday at the Alliance Center. I actually sat and watched it on video today. I couldn't get there, and I just they talked about the fact that they had moved it back to the Alliance Center because they were too crowded elsewhere, and I can see why. It's a big crowd for not that big of a high school. So just congratulations to all the graduates. And MG21's graduation is Thursday night, for those of you that might be interested.
Where is that?
That's at MG21. And finally, just super excited to announce that we have worked out the details of 3 of the wood sculptures that were carved in 2024 at the Harry Whitehorse International Wood Sculpture Festival, are coming back permanently to Monona the week of July 7th. They're currently at Garver and at Obrick Gardens. And all of the sculptures have found homes at this point in the Madison metro area. So that's a 11 piece boost in the public art in this area. I think that's a great contribution. Monona will be getting Simone Carol Levy's Handle with Care, which is going to go at San Damiano. And for those of you that don't know, Simone is from Switzerland. And the Grand Crossing Park is going to get Gadahar's, Gadahar being from India, and the sculpture's name is Rebirth, and it's over at Garver, in the doorway, actually, at Garver right now. And that's going to Grand Crossing. And then finally, Lydia Rosicka's from Poland. Hers is entitled Summer, and it's going to be put somewhere near the pollinator garden at the library. The library board approved that. So we will be coordinating to take the sculptures out of storage at Obrick, where they're going to be stored at the end of June, and seeing that they get to their desired locations in coordination with Parks and Rec and Public Works, volunteers, etc. But some of you may remember that when we built Grand Crossing Park, we actually roughed in for public sculpture there for electricity, for lighting. And so to have a piece there finally, I think is terrific, and I think they'll be great additions overall. And I think that is all
I
right.
think Brad did have his hand up. Brad, did you
Brad.
have something?
I was gonna add to a couple items, but that's fine. I don't think that I have anything pertinent right now.
Okay.
But if anybody has any questions on the projects that are going on, or the solar project, or not solar project, but taking solar off the Public Works garage, it's kind of a dance, so there's some intricacies to it. So if there's any questions on those, feel free to reach out, and I can help answer those.
I'd like to point out, if you notice, Brad's background conveniently changes to whatever topic.
Yes, that's
So,
very
yeah.
convenient. Yeah, Brad, nice work. Hey, actually have a question for you. It was brought up to me today by a concerned citizen, and that is, the question raised was, are we putting a new white roof on Public Works? Because as you know, if the United States were to shift from black or brown roofs to white roofs, we could knock a gigantic hole in climate change. And I'm just curious as to whether we've given any consideration to a white roof rather than whatever color it's going to be. I can't honestly remember what the color is of the Public Works garage.
It's a gray metal roof right now.
Okay.
And it will be, I believe it is a white material.
Cool.
Excuse me, sorry.
That's great. That's great. It really makes a difference with the sun reflecting rather than being absorbed, so that's great. Thank you. With that, I believe I will take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.